All right, guys, give me just 1 second. I'm just getting set up here. Let me know if you can hear me okay through the mic. I'm probably just going to kind of set it here. That way I'm not attached to it because I'll end up pulling it out of the daggone camera if I do. Hope everybody's having a great Thanksgiving, being safe while they're traveling. If you're watching this, go ahead and start commenting and leaving your questions. That way when I get this dumb computer up and running, I can see them because I'm going to use this to talk to you guys. So I'll have to try and use my phone at the same time because that would be a pain. So yeah, if you guys want to ask me anything about current projects with the car, future projects with the car, anything C7 related that I might be able to tell you about or something I might know about, yeah, just anything. If you want to know about the cake I'm cooking right now, let me know because I'm gonna have to go in just a little bit and do that. So we got about a half hour. I don't have a great internet connection out here in the garage, so this thing takes a little bit to get connected. All right, thanks Travis for the audio check. I appreciate that. I'm just getting caught up on all of the comments here. All right, cool. Everybody can hear me good. Yeah, I'm jealous of all you guys that got to spend your days with your family eating and whatnot because I had to work from like 10 to 7. So, Boogeyman, I'm cooking a apple cinnamon cake. That thing's going to be so good. All right, so let's see here. We'll start with Omar. Is it a good idea to install a remote starter? I'm assuming you mean a remote start on an A7 because I heard rumors about it that it messes up electricity. I've never heard that. I've never heard of anybody having issues with it. There are some remote start companies that require you to leave a remote in the car, and I don't really like that because obviously if someone somehow finds it, they can steal your car, right? But there are companies that don't require you to do that. I think the main one that people do is iData Start, and they get, or someone will chime in here and let me know the name of it, but there's something you can connect with iData Start that you can turn your car on from anywhere in the world with your phone with an app. And I would like to do that on my car. I would love remote start. A lot of people want it for the winter when it's really cold and want to heat up the car. I live in Southeast North Carolina and I want it for the summer so I can get the AC going. So yeah, I think you're totally good with that. There's a couple different companies, but iData Start is the one that I think most people go with. Oh yeah, Travis, you should see this thing. One day I'll do like a tour of the garage. It's actually got a full bath over here in the corner. There's toilet, water heater, shower, whole 9 yards. I've got a gas stove on the other side over there. Going to turn that hopefully eventually one day into a bourbon bar. But yeah, I love this garage. I just wish I could afford to like completely finish it out and do some Swiss tracks on the floor. Yeah, Omar. Yeah, it sucks having to work, but it is what it is. Got to pay the bills. All right, radar detector from Boogeyman. Yes, I do use a radar detector. I, for a long time, ran a Valentine V1 because I got my first one back in college in like 2004. And that was the only one that had the directional arrows, and at that time, it was top of the line. And I ran that one for a long time, then upgraded to a newer V1 once they came out with some new hardware. Ran that for a long time up until the Uniden R3 was gaining traction. And I went from the V1 to the Uniden R3, and I loved it. The R3, even without the directional arrows, was far better, picked up alerts from a long ways away. Then, as soon as I bought the R3, like a month later, they released the Uniden R7, which has directional arrows. And I was lucky enough, they're a cool company. I called them and said, hey, look, I just bought this R3 like a month ago. Didn't know you were coming out with this. Can I trade it in? And they let me send in the R3, pay the difference, and I got an R7. So that was about 3 or 4 years ago, I think, and I've been running the R7 ever since, and I absolutely love it. It's customizable. You can do GPS lockout and things like that. You can update the software. I think there's a Uniden R8 out now. I haven't messed with it at all. I've been really happy with the R7. The other thing is it's really hard to detect if you're in a state like Virginia. If a cop wants to detect your radar detector, they have a special piece of equipment that they have on their dash that they can move around, and I think you have to get within like 10 feet of the car to be able to actually detect it. So I run in Virginia all the time. I just turn off the display so there's no light so people can't see it. So I like my Uniden R7. A lot of people will go with the Passport. It's another really, really good one, but I like my directional arrows. All right. All right, tires, drag strip perspective. I haven't picked out anything for sure. I'm balling on a budget doing this, but I want decent tires, so I think I'm going to go with the DWS 06s, the Continentals. Maybe Michelin Pilot Sports if I can find a good deal on them. But between those two, that's I'm probably leaning towards the Continentals. So yeah, that's what I'm looking at now. But I got a little bit of time to figure that out. Continental Michelin watches this, feel free to send me a set. All right, a guy told me stage 1 integrated engineering or APR is pointless and I should jump straight to stage 2. So I get his point. So with my car, I went stage 1 single pulley, and then stage 2 dual pulley. What I would say is if you aren't sure if you want to go to dual pulley quickly, go to stage 1. See how you like it. What I would say to skip is stage 1 single pulley. When this platform was first started, the fastest thing to change and beyond a computer tune was to upgrade the supercharger pulley. It was the first thing tuning companies came out with, super simple. Then they're like, oh, let's upgrade the crank pulley. We can go to a dual pulley ratio. Now, of course, we know that for the most part, most people will just go straight to a large and oversized crank pulley and upload the dual pulley ratio tune and skip everything in between, because for the most part, most people agree that having a larger crank pulley is better than doing a smaller supercharger pulley and a slightly larger crank pulley, because when you reduce the size of the supercharger pulley, you're reducing the surface area of your belt on there, which could lead to belt slippage. So you can get the dual pulley ratio and increase that surface area that a belt is touching with the 205 or 207 millimeter oversized crank pulley. So what I would say, if you're not ready to go all out with a stage 2 dual pulley tune, because you need to have cooling, you need to make sure your car is running well because you are going to be introducing a lot higher IATs. Do a stage 1 tune, see how you like it. I will say that it's kind of underwhelming. Not underwhelming. You're going to love it. It's going to be different, but at the top end, it leaves a lot to be desired. But I would just go from a stage 1 to a stage 2 dual pulley versus doing stage 1, stage 2 single pulley, stage 2 dual pulley, and I definitely wouldn't go stage 2 single pulley simply because I don't want to put a pulley on the car and then have to replace it again to go dual pulley. Hopefully that makes sense. That might be a video I make that talks about the pulley setups and why your stock crank pulley has a failure point and all that stuff. So if that's something you guys want to see, let me know. All right, so unit and R8 radar, Omar, I'm not sure if that's something that you've had experience with, but maybe something I look at upgrading in the future. What would make your supercharger whine louder other than an intake? So obviously the thing that you're going to do that's going to open up that supercharger sound for you is an open intake. The more open your filter is, the louder the intake is going to allow your that's the louder your supercharger will be. If you really wanted to get it loud, two other things you can do. Dual pulley. Once you change the pulleys once you change your pulleys and you get into a dual pulley ratio, it's going to get a lot louder. Second thing is porting your supercharger. It's going to get louder. Even I've heard that throttle body upgrades can make your supercharger a little bit louder too. So those are the main things that people will do to not only get performance and everything, but they also contribute to supercharger sound. All right. Travis, you can take it up with me in the group chat later. Raphael, low pressure fuel pump upgrade. I probably won't do one anytime soon, simply because I don't need to. 3OTs, there's not a lot of need for a low pressure fuel pump upgrade. The 4OTs is definitely something. I think it's definitely more prevalent there with their fueling requirements. Like, yes, 3OTs, once you really start pushing the boundaries of the 3OT, you need to squeeze out every ounce of fueling you can in these cars. I'm nowhere near that right now. I will say this, changing the low pressure fuel pump on our cars is almost the exact same as any other Volkswagen, Audi late model car. You pull off the back bench seat, which I'll get a video for that one day because I just uploaded one on the front seats, but you pull that back bench seat, you'll see it should be on the passenger side of your rear seat. There's a little cap there you have to undo, there'll be a wiring harness, and then it pulls out of the gas tank. You want to definitely do it when your fuel level is low, because otherwise you're going to have a huge thing of gas there. It can be really messy, so just be really careful. Don't be smoking while you're doing it. But if you look up pretty much any other Volkswagen, Audi low pressure fuel pump replacement, it should give you an idea of how to do the one on our cars. All right, Martin, BF Goodrich's. Cool, the G-Force. I might look into those. All right. Would you ever start a second channel to do non-car related stuff? It's actually something that I have thought about. I already do this channel and I try and do one video a week, which takes a lot of time. I've got my family that I have to pay attention to. I don't know if I want to get wrapped up in a dedicated dual channel type of a thing, and I definitely wouldn't be anywhere near as consistent. I know, somebody told me I should create a channel, so that's called Cameron Cooks after they saw my Instagram story tonight. But I don't know. I'd like to maybe if I had more time, but I don't really have the time to do it now, so probably not right now. All right, Omar, your screen lags when it goes up and down, when it goes down, but it goes up very smoothly. Over time with your MMI screens folding up, basically it's a cord that is wrapped around a motor, and that's how it retracts and opens. And sometimes those can get stretched out, sometimes they can get just old, they can get caught. So you can use my DIY video on installing the Android head unit and see how to open it up and remove that, and you can inspect it. But I haven't had any issues with it. I know my MMI screen was a little bit jerky as well. It was pretty much always like that, and it never really bothered me, and it never broke, so I just never messed with it. So now I've got the stationary Android screen, so I don't really worry about it. All right, Joshua Booth, you got oil consumption problems. 1 quart every 500 to 1,000 miles, mainly noticed while turning. I'm stumped. Any ideas for interest? Hundreds of Hey, Joshua, what do you mean that you mainly notice while you're turning for oil consumption? Like, do you smell it more when you're turning? Do you see more smoke when you're turning? We do have an oil consumption video on our channel. So if you go browse our videos, you'll see it's 3OT oil consumption. I look like an absolute idiot with oil all over my hands in the thumbnail, so it shouldn't be too hard to find. But yeah, explain what you mean by you mainly notice it more when you're turning. Cool. I'm going to butcher this name. HWA Lou, I think. Fixed the cable a little while ago. Maybe that's going back to the MMI screen. Let's see here. Do you expect yourself only staying with the C7 platform in the near future? Is there any reason you might want to move on to another one? Martin, that's a really good question. I love the C7 platform. I've been involved in the Volkswagen Audi community since 2003. My first Volkswagen was a B5 Passat I got as I was graduating high school and going into college in Florida. 30 valve V6, slower than hell, but I loved that thing. And I went to Florida, not an enthusiast, met my buddy at a 20th anniversary GTI, and then that was it, game over. I've been stuck ever since. The C7 is my first Audi, but I think I've had, let's see here, I had the B5, I had 3 Mark Vs, I had a Mark II that I really didn't drive. I got it, didn't do anything with it, sold it. I had a 20th anniversary. My parents have had Volkswagens, and then I got my C7, and yeah, I absolutely love it. What I would love to do as a next C7, once I'm done with the 302 platform, is go into the 4OT platform. And I know by that time I'll be late to the game and almost everything's done, but there really isn't a channel that does what I do for the 4OT. So there's actually one for sale near me. It's got 175,000 miles on it. It's a C7 S6 that some guy's asking $18,500 for it. And I almost thought about reaching out and seeing if I could get it and do a, hey, I bought the cheapest S6 in the country that I could find, but I don't have the tools to remove an engine, and if that thing needs injectors, I'm going to have to pay someone to do that, and I don't feel like doing that. But eventually, I would like to get into a 4OT. I would like to get into an S7 at that point. Eventually, maybe an RS7 would be great. But the car outside of this platform that I would love to get into right now is that damn B9 SQ5. Have you guys seen what integrated engineering is doing with these SQ5s and even just like the B9 S4s? Dear Lord, man, they sound incredible. They're stupid fast, super easy to work on. If you guys know David, I think Musienko, he's been posting a lot on some of the forums. You can follow him on Instagram. I think he just ran like a low 10-second, like 10.1 or something in his. I mean, it's absolutely insane. Those things look amazing. They sound great. They're stupid fast. If I could have any car right now in the Audi platform outside the C7 generation, that would be the one that I would go with right now. All right, so I think that answers 360 Construction's question as well. Let's see here. What's the best website to get exterior mods like spoilers, front lips, side skirts, etc. for a good price? You guys know that I'm always going to send people to Canadian Auto Performance, or we abbreviate it CAP. Those guys have been a long-time supporter of the channel, and they have great quality stuff. I've had their carbon fiber rear diffuser. I've got their carbon fiber duckbill trunk spoiler. I am in the process of painting and installing one of their RS6 bumpers. I've got one of their grills laying around here. They're great stuff, guys, and they will stand behind their products and they will take care of you. We've done many group buys with them. We do usually 2 large group buys a year. They also sell a lot of exhaust performance parts. They have the #1 test pipes in the game. They have had 0 failures on their test pipes. They have mid pipes as well. I know that they are trying to work on coming out with a full exhaust system, but that has been delayed. I have no idea where that is, but that was something that was on their radar. But Can Auto Performance is who I'm going to send you to for exterior parts and things like that. They pretty much have everything you can think of. All right, so Joshua, come back to you. You see a lot of smoke while turning and under heavy acceleration. You saw the video where you think it was the PCV, but didn't want to just guess at it. So Joshua, the first thing I would say is to be safe, find some way to scan your car. So if you have an OBD11 or VCDS, or just go to your local Advanced Auto Parts, something like that, get it scanned, because if your PCV is bad, they will be able to find that code. It should pop a code. So that's the first thing I would tell you to do. And it very likely could be your PCV. The other thing is valve cover gaskets, when they leak, they tend to cause your exhaust to shoot out a lot of smoke as well. I know that I thought I was having really bad issues with my engine, and then I fixed my valve cover gasket leaks and the smoke went away on my car. So definitely go check out the 3OT consumption, oil consumption video. I pretty much cover all of your main issues with burning oil as well as leaking oil. And I would start with that video and see what you can find. And you can get the Liqui Moly Molygen oil. And what I would do is get your car up on jack stands, get a couple cans of brake clean. Anywhere you might see oil residue that could have built up, or any kind of residue that could have built up over the years, spray it all down, get it nice and clean, do an oil change, put the Liqui Moly Molygen in, which is the green bottle, get a handheld black light off Amazon, run your car for a while, and then when it's dark out, take that light and search for leaks, because the Molygen will reflect in the black light and help you identify if you see any leaks. Okay, so go check out that video and hopefully that'll help you out. All right. How often does a 3OT need carbon cleaning? Is walnut blasting the only option to do? Do you recommend a catch can for these engines, Martin? All right, Martin, another good question. Carbon cleaning. All direct injected engines that Volkswagen and Audi makes are susceptible to carbon buildup on the intake valves. It's just part of the game. A lot of people use water meth to help alleviate that, and it does keep those cleaner. I would say try and do a carbon clean minimum once every 75,000 miles. Also depends on how hard you drive your car and your mods. You might need to do a little bit earlier. Walnut blasting is the easiest way, but you have to have obviously special tools to do that. You don't have to have walnut blasting tools and whatnot to be able to clean your valves. If you look on YouTube, there's a lot of videos where that show anything from people taking a handful of zip ties and putting them in a damn drill and just filling that, each intake port with brake clean or valve cleaner, and they just stick that in there, put their hand over it and spin it around for a while. Then they go in there with little picks and scrape everything out and use a shop vac to suck all the stuff out. Just make sure you have something that allows you to turn your crank so you can fully close each of those valves, and make sure you tape off the valves you're not working on. A little bit more time consuming, but a lot cheaper than getting all your walnut blasting stuff, unless you can rent it or borrow from somebody. Yeah, 360. That B9 SQ5 is just, it's the way right now, man. Mad Scientist, what's up, dude? Good to see you. Happy Thanksgiving to you as well. The 3.2 Valley cover for your PCV. I don't know why they're canceling orders, but I know when I first came out with the idea, or not I came out with the idea, but when I announced that we were going to be tackling the PCV relocation, I told Jose, I said, hey, before I announce this, go buy one of these because they're going to go fast. And so we went and we each bought ours, and then we made it public what we were doing. And there were, at that time on eBay, a lot of them. And I've noticed now, since posting about the PCV relocation, there are not many at all. So one thing I would suggest to you on eBay, make sure when you search for that part number for the metal valley pan, and when you hit search, go to the filter options and whatnot, and drop down for the location and change it from default to worldwide. That's the best way to find it. We got ours from somewhere, I think in Poland is where I got mine from. But that should yield a few more options for you, but I think they're slim pickings. So start calling around to places like Lifetime Audi in Durham, Auto Haas, any kind of like Audi junkyard. You need that 2005, 2006 3.2 liter metal valley pan. So good luck finding it. Otherwise, you might have to buy a new one, which would suck. It's going to make it a lot more expensive. Hopefully, you know someone who works at a dealership that can get you the part at cost. But at this point, just keep a sharp eye, start hunting around. For those of you that are curious, with the 3-liter supercharged PCV relocation, Jose has the first set of prototype parts. He got them in. He is testing them to make sure fitment works on his spare supercharger. He's got to come up with a different gasket option because the one he wanted to use was not the right one. So he's getting a different gasket, and the locking pin, he has to redesign that a little bit. So we're a couple months out. We're hopefully just a few weeks away from actually doing the install on my car. And in terms of everybody else getting their Merc Racing parts to aid in the PCV relocation, probably 2 to 3 months out from that, maybe. So this is coming to fruition soon, which is kind of crazy considering it's a year in January or February that we discovered this and started putting these plans together. Almost less than a year we'll have this stuff done, which is really, really cool. Going back to someone else who asked about a catch can. As the 3OT sits, you cannot install a catch can without major modification to the engine. It's not as simple as your 2-liter turbo cars. But the good thing is, with our PCV relocation, it allows you to run a catch can effectively, which should reduce carbon buildup on your intake valves. It should reduce carbon buildup on your intercooler cores in your supercharger, which should allow them to function better, yielding lower IATs and prolonging the life of those. So really, really excited about a catch can. Disclaimer though, if you live in an environment that gets really cold for long periods of time, don't run a catch can because it could freeze and you could have all sorts of issues. Or just make sure you don't let it freeze if you run it in the winter. Maybe in the winter you just disconnect it and run a line to reconnect to the engine, take it out of the loop. Summer comes around, put the catch can back in the loop. All right. Do I use liquid moly? If so, love that word I can't pronounce from them, or the other one. All right. So Martin, there's a lot of debate between the Light Loft or the Moly Gen, which is like the synth oil, the blue bottle or the green bottle. I use the blue bottle. I was told by my liquid moly rep that the blue bottle is a better performing engine oil. It is also recognized to meet the specs of Volkswagen for their engine oil. According to what I've been told, the Moly Gen does not, but people love the Moly Gen. And what I've heard is that Moly Gen has Ceratec, which is their like really good oil additive already in it. And once again, the additives in that one you can pick up with a blacklight. I run the blue bottle. I really, really like it. Maybe I'll switch to the Moly Gen just to see how my car runs with it. I typically add the Ceratec engine additive whenever I do an oil change as it is, but might run it next time and see if there's a major difference with my oil. But yeah, I do use liquid moly. All right, Josh, OBD11. Haven't seen any codes, but have noticed some weeping around the valve covers. And yeah, big fan of Can Auto. They're great guys. So yeah, Josh, if you're seeing oil residue building up around your valve covers, I would suggest go ahead and getting it changed. We also have a video on that. And it's not terribly difficult, a little bit time consuming. You might also go ahead and think about doing a spark plug maintenance and coil pack maintenance while you're doing it if they've never been changed, because you have to remove all that stuff anyways. Just make sure you have stuff to properly gap your spark plugs. But definitely do your valve cover gaskets and see if you notice a difference in your oil consumption. All right, roof wrap, but you don't know which one to get. There's too many different ones on the market. Omar, it's whatever you want when it comes to wraps. That's personal, but I wouldn't buy anything online. I would find a local vinyl installer, talk to them, because they can get anything under the sun. They might already have it in stock, and they're going to be able to install it a lot. If you've never done vinyl, it's a little bit tricky if you are doing it by yourself, especially a roof piece and getting around your shark fin antenna. I would just pay the money and have a professional installer do it, but it's just personal preference, whatever you want to do. All right, the engine oil, Omar, from my experience, there are 3 engine oils that I like. I use liquid moly. You can't go wrong with it. You can find it in Advance Auto. You can get it from FCP Euro and utilize their lifetime guarantee, which is a huge perk. I really like that. You can do that and pretty much not ever have to actually pay out of pocket for engine oil again. After that, Motul 8100, I think is what it is. Motul makes a great engine oil. And then there's Rova. I ran Rova for a very long time. They're another German oil company that's a little bit less known, but I still had really, really good results with them. So yeah, those are the 3 that I would send you to. It's just, like I said, liquid moly is such a good oil, and it's so readily available everywhere these days. And the FCP lifetime guarantee just kind of makes it a no-brainer for me. All right, let's see here. Guys, I got about 7 minutes left or so, maybe a little bit longer because I got that cake in there and I got to go take it out of the oven. Motor mounts are shot and your car severely vibrates at idle. What are the consequences of putting off this repair? Amari, that is a really good question. Not too many people ask about this. Okay, so your engine mounts have shot. That means your engine is moving a lot under idle. It also means when you're getting on the gas, especially if you're flooring it, your engine's moving very rapidly in a very long range of movement. So this is going to do a couple things. One, it is going to put your test pipes or your catalytic converters at risk. That shocking movement and the long movement was not designed to work with your catalytic converters the way they're mounted to your engine. So you could break off the flange that connects to your catalytic converters. So that's a huge one because that's a big job. That is not a DIY job for most people. Secondly, the engine movement will translate down through your entire drivetrain. That engine movement will wear out your upper and lower control arms, mainly your upper control arms, a lot faster. That will translate down through the rest of it. The other thing, that engine movement moves your transmission, so that's wear on your transmission mount, wear on your drive shaft, wear on your drive shaft carrier. So if I were you, I would get that fixed ASAP. For those of you that don't know, all of our bushings on our C7 for control arms, engine mounts, all that stuff, they're all hydraulic fluid-filled bushings. And that's for comfort, so that it absorbs all of the vibration. But what that does in terms of performance is it creates kind of a sloppy transition of power from your engine to your wheels. So I would highly suggest, if you're going to replace them, get the 034 street density engine mounts. If you have to do control arms, 034 street density control arms. The drive shaft carrier, JXB Performance, get their drive shaft carrier. If you have a 4OT and it's tuned, it's a must-have. If you're a 3OT, you're going to love it. It plants power down. It's one of the best bangs for your buck you can get. It was a massive difference when I put that on my car, and it even made my car feel like it was shifting faster. Like, I can't recommend it enough. But definitely get the engine mounts taken care of ASAP so you have to deal with the failure of your catalytic converters. Let's see here. All right, the 150 from the OEM 50. Martin has a question about the coolant pump. If you don't expect to tune the car at any point soon or at any point, there's really not a point in upgrading your coolant pump. I don't know if you have an upgraded heat exchanger or not, but yeah, if you're not going to tune your car, there's really no reason to modify your coolant system unless you live in a hot area and you really have, you like to drive your car as it is really fast and aggressively. I would at least invest in a heat exchanger, not necessarily your coolant pump. I mean, I've got a 4OT heat exchanger on my car, and for a while I ran it with the CW50, and it did really well. If you are upgrading from that and going to upgrade your stuff, the next question people ask is, should I do the CWA100 or CWA150? So if you're coming from the OEM CWA50, the 150 is a great option. It's a little bit cheaper than the CWA100. It's easier to find right now. The CWA100s are hard to find. It can run with the PWM wire, which if you want, if that's a thing for you, you want the ECU to be able to control the percentage of power that the coolant pump is running, then that's really good because the CWA100 is notorious for not running correctly with the PWM wire. So people just cut it and let it run at 100%. So if you're not tuning it, don't bother upgrading it. If you're going from a 50 and you're looking for an upgrade, the 150 is a great choice. A little bit more of an install, which once again, we got a video on. It's not as plug and play as the CWA100, but it's not bad. Josh, I don't know how you sent me money. Nobody's ever sent me money through YouTube before, but dude, thank you. That's awesome. That $10 will go to some beer. Thank you. Actually, I'll probably go to tires for my new wheels. What's the best way to get a quiet exhaust sound without any drone? I'm going to have a video on exhaust coming up. I was going to do it beforehand, but then my car got sent into the shop. Check my time. I'm going to be doing a comprehensive exhaust video talking about why our exhaust sucks so bad, what people typically do, what the options are for your exhaust from quiet to loud. But ultimately, you know me, I'm going to tell you one of the first mods you need to do is get rid of your catalytic converters and put in test pipes. The trade-off of that is your engine is going to create a noise that sounds like kittens being slaughtered outside of your ear hole. It's the worst sounding exhaust I've ever heard in a car, unfortunately. And so then people are asking, what should I get? Your aftermarket exhaust companies, they design their exhaust to sound really good with your catalytic converters in the car. Like AWE Touring, it's one of the best sounding exhausts for this car, but as soon as you go test pipes, you've got your rasp, you've got that drone type of thing. So what we're finding out is the best way to tackle this is to customize your exhaust yourself. And what I've done is I've got a Gibson 105-106S center resonator on my non-resonated mid pipes now, and it's connected to my OEM center resonator, and then I have Valvetronic rear mufflers. and that has killed the rasp. I have zero rasp from my exhaust now. In terms of drone, there's not this all encompassing drone in the car at time, like 24/7, but at certain RPMs and certain frequencies, there's a little bit of a drone and then it goes away, but it's almost like a resonance. For me, it doesn't bother me too much. I have my music on 99.9% of the time, so I don't really notice it. Other people, it might bother them. I'm going to get a video so you guys can hear what I'm talking about. What I would suggest is figure out what you get with your exhaust, get rid of the rasp and get the exhaust sound that you like, and then maybe look at dynamiting your car. Take your seats out, pull up the carpet, put dynamite down, then you shouldn't hear any drone. That might help, and that might be a much more cost-effective way to do something if you can do that yourself. But I will have a video out on exhaust in the near future. All right, any other upcoming projects with Merc Racing other than the PCV kit? You guys know about the supercharger that Merc Racing is doing. Before anybody asks, I will not be getting one of the superchargers. They are expensive, as all supercharger systems are. I'm not going to talk about the price because I've been sworn to secrecy, but it's just not in my budget, and I've got other stuff I can do to my car beforehand. But I will be working with Jose on that supercharger in terms of hopefully driving up to his house and doing some videos for him, so you guys will at least get the information on it as much as I can get out. But other than that, in the PCV, right now, we don't have any other projects in the works because Jose is a ridiculously busy guy. The fact that he works with me as much as he does and as often as he does, I can't tell you guys how incredibly lucky I am. I don't know if any of you have done any work with car companies and whatnot. The relationship I have with Jose, I don't think most people can have with any of their other sponsors or tuning companies. You know, I'm really blessed that I get to work hand in hand with a lot of different companies, and talk to people that work with them. You know, I talk with people from Integrated Engineering pretty often. Talk with some guys from Lifetime Audi pretty often. Me and Jose text all the time. In fact, you know, at the Alpine Volksfair show in Helen, Georgia last year, we shared a cabin together. We're going to stay together at another cabin this coming year with some other C7 guys. So I'm really, really lucky with that. But he is an incredibly busy guy, and I try not to bother him with too many projects. I have a ton of ideas I would love to run by him because he's fantastic at fabricating stuff, but one at a time. If there's anything you would like to see, shoot it to me and I'll discuss it with him. Nope, I still got a couple minutes on the cake. MagnaFlow TrueX resonator. I don't have any experience with the TrueX resonator. Most people do the MagnaFlow 11385 or 11386 depending on your exhaust pipe sound, and they sound great. It's just the MagnaFlow resonated X pipe. They are filled with like a filament in there that will degrade over time, and they'll eventually blow out and sound bad. So they're not terribly expensive. You would just have to swap them out every 2 to 3 years. But the Gibson, it's all metal inside. It'll never wear out. That's why I went with that one. All right, any events next year? Yeah, so I'm absolutely going to go to Alpine Volksfair by Eurotripper in Helen, Georgia in May next year. If you plan on go to that, I would, if I had to pick an event out of the entire year to go to on the East Coast, that would be the one. Helen, Georgia is an incredible town. I've gone there for Southern Weather Sea a couple times. I love that place. I'm actually going to be hosting, I haven't announced this to anybody except for a couple of people that know me really well. I'm going to be hosting a pre-meet at Alpine Volksfair. For those of you that don't know, Alpine Volksfair, to keep it calm and controlled, they have a show on Saturday, but not everybody can go to the show field. The way they do it is they host from like Wednesday through Friday a series of pre-meets all day long on those days leading up to Saturday. And what happens is the host of those pre-meets get a certain amount of decals that they judge their pre-meets and say, okay, you're going to the show field. So I'll get X amount of decals and say, okay, these cars here are your, they're called Mutts Nuts stickers. You get these. That'll allow you to get on the show field, and then your car can get judged for the grand prize. And I think one year they gave away a trip to Austria to go to Wörthersee. Some of the best quality cars I've ever seen come to this show. But I'm hosting a meet specifically for big body Audi vehicles. That's A6s and up, including SUVs, any generation. I'm in the process of trying to find a local company to let me host it on their property. So I would love to see you guys come out to that and get to meet a lot of you. I got to meet a few C7 guys last year. I would love to see a lot more. So mark that on your calendars. It's in May. I can't talk about the official date because they haven't released it yet, and I wouldn't want to wait for them to say it, but it will be in May, as always. So go find them on Facebook, Alpine Volksfair by Eurotripper. I'll also be going to one of the Southeast Euro events in Raleigh. I think it's in February. I'll be at that one. And then I definitely plan on trying to go to more events than this year, with my, as long as my schedule allows it. And yeah, so I'll just keep you guys up to date on as many as I can go to. Travis, your comment got flagged because you said vag, as in Volkswagen Audi Group, you pervs. All right. Okay, so you guys have a lot of questions. If you want, give me like 5 minutes to run inside, pull this cake out of the oven, and I'll be back. So I'm gonna go and do that. I'll leave this running, and I'll be back in just a few minutes. So yeah, I'll be quick. All right, guys, I'm back. That cake looks baller. All right, let me get back up here and find the next question. All right, have I noticed any difference in my transmission after changing my driving habits since the last one died? Thanks, Martin. I feel attacked now. The transmission behaves the same. These EF8s are extremely stout transmissions if you don't abuse the shit out of them like I did. Obviously, for those of you that don't know, I had a failed ZF8 transmission right before my trip to Helen last year, or I should say this year. My driving habits, let's see, I've got my tune by Burt Gerds, fantastic tune. The tune did not contribute to my failure other than allowing me to act like an idiot with it. I had my exhaust really loud. I think the exhaust was the problem because even with RASP, I still want to hear my exhaust. And so I would just love to downshift, high RPMs, let it just rev break down and just hear that tone. And so, yeah, I mean, when I go to slow down, I just let that thing rev bang all the way up, rev match and decelerate into first gear. First gear is not designed to rev match to 5,500 RPMs and hang down. FYI, if you didn't know. So I have changed my driving habits and I don't do that anymore. And this transmission's great. I got this transmission used from Lifetime Audi. Let's see here. I think it had 55,000 or 60,000 miles on it. So really, really young transmission still. Came out of an unabused car. Only cost me, I got my Audi Club Carolinas discount, which was 10% off. So that saved some money. So I think I paid out the door like $475 for the transmission. If you have a facelift ZF8, you're going to pay a good bit little more. Those have different gearing. They're a little bit more expensive. Like we're talking like in the thousands there versus a few $100s. But the real expensive part was getting it installed. I did not have the ability to do that on my own. So a shop here in Wilmington called Audi Motorsport did that swap for me right before this trip to Helen. The labor for that was about $1,800. So that's the expensive part. But the transmission's holding up great. Love it. Running Liqui Moly, top tech ATF fluid in it. Haven't had a single issue. All right, let's see here. Travis, you better go to Helen. All right. This hoodie. Chris wants to know where you can get this hoodie. This hoodie is one of a kind. There's only one other, actually two other hoodies of this. My boy Quinn has one. If you guys know Fat Boy Quinn, he's got one. And then there's one other in circulation. I have tossed around the idea of doing this. The place I get this from, if I do it and sell to you guys, and I'm not going to try and make money off of it, it'd still be like expensive. And it's a nice hoodie. It's a Champion hoodie. It's really warm. It's comfortable and it fits big like old school hoodies should. But it would still cost you guys like 60 something, maybe $70 with shipping. And I know that's stupid expensive. Some other people were talking about reaching out to some distributors that they know to look at maybe getting it for a cheaper price for me. I just, I'm not trying to make a merch store or anything like that. I know you guys have asked for merch, and maybe one day I'll get something together to at least do one run of shirts or something. But yeah, so if you really want one of these, email me or message me on Instagram if the price doesn't matter to you, and I'll get one out to you. But yeah, that's what's going on with that one. Flagged. Hold on. All right. What's up, Tony? Congratulations on your new S6. I'm jealous. All right, proper set of headers. Mad Scientist wants to know about headers for the 3OTs. The headers, there's two companies that make headers that I know are reputable. First one is Red Star. They make headers, and Red Star makes great stuff. You're just going to pay for it. I know that the headers from them are incredibly expensive. 99.9% of people with 3OTs get the Murtop headers, and you can get those on AliExpress or eBay, I think. Well, not eBay anymore. I don't know if y'all saw this. eBay's cranking down. No more emissions-related things. No tuners, no O2 sensors, no test pipes. Can't buy those on eBay. Thank you, people. Yeah. But AliExpress has Murtop headers, and I know that Jose has those on his S4, and he likes them. If you guys know Thornton Dykes, his Instagram was Slow A6. He lives in South Carolina, too far from me. Had like a 10-second A6. He had Murtop headers on his, and the header 3OTs sound a lot better than test pipe 3OTs. They sound great. You still have to control their ass, but it's definitely a deeper tone. And I think the Murtop headers, I forget how much they're going for. Like, part of me wants to say $450, and then the other part wants me to say like $750 or something, but they're under $1,000. I know that. The problem is you've got to pull your engine out of the car to install them. Travis, you live in Virginia Beach, right? Did we talk about this? All right. Martin, the cake is a apple cinnamon cake. It's freaking awesome. It's my wife's family's recipe, and it's one of the best cakes in the world. Don't prank me, Boogeyman. All right, Josh asked me about the diameter of my exhaust. So on the A6s, the OEM exhaust diameter is 2.25. If you get aftermarket non-resonated or even resonated mid pipes, those typically come as 2.5 inch. And then if you get aftermarket exhausts, most of them come in 2.5 inch, but a lot of them come in 2.25 inch as well. So my current exhaust setup as it is, I actually have gutted cats because my cats failed on me years ago. And so took those out, knocked out the interiors, threw those back in. No, I did not reinforce the welds because I was new into the car at the time, didn't know about it. Luckily, haven't had any issues with it. That comes down to a set of Ken Auto Performance non-resonated mid pipes. I don't call them down pipes because they don't come down from anything. Your test pipes are down pipes. Down pipes are test pipes. The mid pipes connect your center resonator to your test pipes, mid pipes. Anyways, I put the Gibson resonator on my non-resonated mid pipes. That goes to the OEM center resonator, and just a quick little difference between B8 exhaust and C7 exhaust. The B8 S4s, it just goes to a center resonator. The C7 A6s and A7s have a small X pipe right before their center resonator. So that might explain a tiny sound difference between the two cars. And then from there, it goes out, and this is all OEM piping from the mid pipes back. It goes into, splits and goes into rear Valvetronic mufflers, and those are left over from my shitty Send exhaust. I've had good luck with these rear mufflers. They haven't blown or anything like that. They still work really well, and I like the sound of them, so I'll leave them on there until someone comes out with something better. But I like being able to quiet the exhaust and make it louder. Tony's trying to sell APR downpipes for anybody since he can't pass emissions in Missouri. Tony, you might try O2 spacers to pass your emissions, bud. And the 4OT mid pipes, test pipes aren't terrible to swap in and out. So if you have your OEM cats, you might just once a year throw them back on to go get your emissions done. Omar, I got it from Lifetime Audi in Durham. Just go on Google, search Lifetime Audi, Durham, North Carolina. They're an Audi scrapyard right outside of Raleigh, and it's all late model stuff. The great thing about Lifetime Audi is everything you buy for them comes with a lifetime guarantee, much like FCP Euro. So like my transmission on my car, if it shits the bed again, I will call them, and they will either give me my money that I paid for if they don't have anything to replace it with, or they'll let me come pick up a new transmission. Obviously, it won't cover the labor to do it all, but still, it's really, really nice. I've bought quite a bit of stuff from them. I've got fender liners from them, so definitely check out Lifetime Audi. They're my go-to. All right, Martin, ZF8 tune for the 7,200 RPM redline worth it for a stock car or at least stage one? Trying to keep it fun and reliable. Martin, honestly, going stage one single pulley, stage two dual pulley, as long as you do the supporting mods, these cars are very reliable. You just have to know the pitfalls, and if you spend some time watching my videos, you'll be very educated on what to know. The TCU tune is definitely worth it. IE has one, 034 has one, the off-the-shelf tunes, but most people are going to tell you to go with a custom tune with HP tuners. I've got mine from Burt Gerds. Most people know of Juan Melendez, who does Melon TCU tuning. But I love my Burt Gerds tune, and these cars have a lot of power past your OEM red line that is untapped there. And yeah, even OEM, I don't know if it's really going to benefit you too much, but even going to stage 1, yes, you're definitely going to see a benefit from it, and it will still be reliable as long as you don't drive it like I did on my first transmission. Oh, that's right. We talked about Norfolk and Virginia Beach, Travis. Okay, so Matt W., you're asking if I know anything about the C6 A6s. So Matt, for you, I'm not super intimately familiar with them, but they do have a 3.0T supercharged engine, which is the same one that's in B8, B8.5 S4s, and C7s. There are differences in those motors, but overall, things like intakes are going to probably be close to the same, if not something you can work with to modify to work in your vehicle. Your pulleys should still be the same. Tuning's going to be different, though. Yeah, I don't see many people tuning them, but I know there are some tuning options out there. Heat exchangers and whatnot should work. You still might have to do some custom fitment and line routing. You should be able to get a lot of the parts that work on the C7 engines to work on your C6. You just might have to play around with it and modify a little bit. Sounds like a really good opportunity to start a YouTube channel, though. I am drinking, Tony's asked what I'm drinking. I'm drinking Atomic Pumpkin by New Belgium, Voodoo Ranger. I love pumpkin beers because I'm a basic white girl, and this thing's got habaneros in it, or some kind of peppers, and it's really freaking delicious. Would I wide body my C7? Boogeyman, I wouldn't, because I don't want to pay for all that body work. There's some really nice wide body, especially S7s out there, and I think the S7s cater to it a little bit better. I do know that Tyler Kirst, the guy that owns TGK Motorsports, has an idea for a wide body S6 design for his car, and if he pulls it off, it's going to be one of the best looking C7s out there. I think they look good when they're done right, but what I don't care for, and it's just because of, I guess, my age, my generation I came up in, I don't like just the bolt-on fender extensions that aren't actually blended and, you know, molded to the car to look like one piece. To me, that's not wide body. To me, you have fender flares that are painted. So I would never do that. All right, let's see here. What's one thing never to do to a 3.0T? And the best tuning company, in my opinion. So one thing you should never do to a 3.0T is turn your car on and immediately rev your engine. These cars, everyone is familiar with the chain rattle, and chain rattle on a cold startup is very normal for these engines, as long as it lasts less than 2 seconds. If you have chain rattle that lasts longer than 2 seconds on cold start, you need to start saving up to do a chain guide and timing chain replacement on your engine. But on these engines, the oil falls out. The older 3.0Ts actually had these check valves that were located underneath your PCV, and those check valves kept oil in the heads, which helped stop chain rattle. The newer 3.0Ts don't have that. You can put those in if you want to, and I'm still contemplating putting them in or not. I've tried to find out if they were taken out because of some catastrophic failure, like they failed closed, but I've never found any instance of those failing closed. If they did fail, they failed open, so that means the oil will just move in and out freely. But with the ones that don't have that check valve, as it sits overnight, all that oil falls out of the head and collects in the bottom of the engine. So when you start your engine needs to cycle that oil through, and if you just rev the piss out of your engine when you start it up, you're going to break stuff. So don't rev your engine on 3.0T. 2, if you get any kind of an EPC light when driving and it causes your car to act weird, don't drive it hard. Drive it very, very gentle until you figure it out. It could be something as simple as leaking intercooler cores, or it could be melted cats. Then if you continue to drive it aggressively, if you have melted cats, you could grenade your engine. So yeah, but other than that, these things are pretty stout cars. The best tuning companies. So I'm not sponsored by any tuning companies, but most people know I'm not a fan of APR. I don't hide that. I've been in the Volkswagen Audi game for a very long time. When I first got into it, APR was pretty much the only tuning company for Volkswagen cars, and they were great. They went through some different ownerships and things like that. I had a Mark V with APR, and it had tuning issues. When I was in the tune, I would go into limp mode all the time. When I would go back to stock, no limp mode. I would do logs, send it into them, and they said there's nothing wrong with the tune, and I was like, there's got to be. I've changed everything else. I've changed throttle bodies. They said there's nothing wrong. Swap my tune over to Unitronic, never had it go into limp mode ever again. They had a bunch of issues with some of their hardware parts, and as I've gone through this, my thing with APR, a lot of their tunes are stout tunes. I'm not saying that there's an issue with their tunes, especially for the 4OT guys. They make a very good 4OT tune, for an off-the-shelf tune. My issue is with APR as a company. They are very overpriced. They don't cater to their customers like other tuning companies. They don't offer a lot of features that the other tuning companies offer. And then their typical thing is they're one of the first on scene to tune a new platform. And then as soon as there's competition that does better with them or becomes direct competition with them, they abandon the platform and walk away. Like right now, they've abandoned the 3OT platform. They're not developing anything else. There are a bunch of APR diehard fanboys out there that eat, live, and breathe APR, but for the 3OT platform, I'm going to send you to either Integrated Engineering or 034 Motorsport. They're both fantastic companies. They're both fantastic to their customers, and everybody has a bad experience with every company. You know, nobody's perfect, but I've worked hand in hand with both companies on a lot of different things, and they're both fantastic, good companies. I've got Integrated Engineering. Jose with Merc Racing has 034, and he's a distributor for 034. Those tunes are fantastic tunes. Each of their software allows you to data log the car and do a whole lot of other things. Integrated Engineering is about to come up with a software that you can download on your phone, so you don't need a PC anymore. You can use everything either with a tablet or your cell phone to upload tunes, change tunes on the fly, which is awesome. You don't need a Wi-Fi connection anymore. And I think 034 is going to have something like that coming out right behind them. So I would steer you towards 034 or Integrated Engineering. Can't go wrong with either of them. For the 4OT, the number one, DS1. And if you want to do an off-the-shelf tune, just not for worry about it, fine. I would send you to Integrated Engineering for that one. APR does make a good 4OT tune, but once again, Integrated Engineering is going to give you a lot more options. But DS1 is the bar for 4OT stuff, and you can get off-the-shelf tunes, I think, for it. But then you can go to people like PFA Performance to get really dialed-in tunes, and you can do a lot of work with DS1. You can get BitRes to go along with it. It's just so much more you can do with DS1 for your 4OT tunes. I'm not a 4OT expert, so I would definitely defer you to other people if anybody has questions about that. Let me get back up here. Black Friday deals you want to share. Momo Wheels is having a really good Black Friday deal. I took advantage of that one. There's not much left on it. JXB Performance is doing 15% off their drive shaft carriers. Can Auto Performance, I think, is doing 15% off of their stuff. A lot of your detailing companies are doing crazy sales. So if you like Adams Polish and stuff like that, they're going to have a lot of sales. I think ECS is doing Black Friday sales. All your tuning companies are going to have 10 to 15% off on software and things like that. So your name brand stuff, anybody you can think of involved in the C7 community, they all should have Black Friday sales going on. All right. How does launch control work on the C7? I thought the stall speed is determined by the converter, not the tune. Martin, that's a good question. One, all C7s have OEM launch control built in that you don't need a tune for. It's called AMAX or max acceleration. I'm going to do a video on this showing you how to do this and what you need to do it safely because you need to have your transmission warmed up correctly. And I'll explain it in detail because it's not as simple as just torque converter or things like that. There is companies like Integrated Engineering and 034 that when you get an ECU tune, you can enable launch control through that. It's not the same as their TCU tune, and it changes different RPMs for it, but that's fuel cut. And I've talked to some of the guys there, and it's not majorly different from your AMAX, and it's basically you're just going to get the sound. Now, for some people, it does say, like they do say that it does launch a little bit harder at, as you can change those RPMs that it allows you to do the fuel cut at. I haven't messed with any of those yet, but I'm going to just so I know myself. But it still utilizes your AMAX for your actual launch control. With the C7, you're not going to get anything that allows you just to sit there and hold it and bang the rev limiter for a long time. If you do it for too long, it's going to build pressure up in the transmission, and it's got a defeat device built in so that you don't do that, so that you don't bust your transmission. So I'll have a video on that in the future as well. Let's see here, kind of scrolling through here. Travis, yeah, Travis is talking about ECS. There's a Facebook group called Why I Hate ECS Tuning, and for those of you that don't know, ECS Tuning was like the #1 go-to for getting parts for Volkswagen Audi Group cars for the longest time. And they were owned by some guys that they kept everything in stock at a warehouse, and it was great. They were fantastic, fast shipping, good prices. Then they sold out to a bigger company, and this company sold out all of the stock that they had and moved to a dropship platform. So when you order from them, the reason it might cost $50 to get a 10-cent bolt delivered to you is because that bolt's coming from somewhere either across the world or across the country. And that's why it takes longer to get everything. That's why a lot of the shipping doesn't take forever. That's why on the website it says it's in stock, and you order something and pay for it, and it says, oh, sorry, this is back ordered for 6 years. And it's upset a lot of people, and I think rightfully so upset. I use ECS Tuning a lot to find part numbers. It's really good to do that, and there are still some things that you can order from them. I'm looking at ordering a stud conversion, a wheel stud conversion, so I can have lug nuts instead of lug bolts when I get these new wheels. But yeah, ECS, from what I grew up with, so to speak, in the community, has gone downhill compared to what I knew it to be. FCP Euro is typically my go-to in getting parts. It's just ECS has a much wider variety, but FCP Euro keeps stuff in stock for the most part, and that lifetime guarantee. Let's see here. Is it easy to steal an Audi? No. It's got a pretty good OEM security system, and it's got what's called an immobilizer system. So if you don't have the key and you try and do something, and it's supposed to immobilize the ECU and stop it from being stolen. Obviously, where there's a will, there's a way for people to get around that stuff, but it's not something you hear of often. All right. Let's see here. Exhaust baffles inserts like the ones from Car Chemistry worth it. Boogeyman, I don't know about the ones from Car Chemistry. I know JHM had some baffled downpipes, and I heard that those had quality issues, that those failed. I don't know if they fixed that or not, but I do know that when they had those working, it definitely helped with the rasp and the tone of the exhaust. It sounded good. The only issue I would have is making sure longevity of the product is good for the car. All right, Travis, wheel bolts versus studs. I am going to do a video on that. A lot of people have this conception that wheel studs are not as reliable as wheel lugs, especially coupled with spacers. And I believe that's a myth, and I can link an article that talks about this in depth, but I am going to do a video because I do plan on going with wheel studs on my car. I know one of the guys in our Audi Club Carolinas group, he's said he's got 3 cars with wheel stud conversions, been running for a long time, 0 issues, even with spacers. Traditionally, wheel studs are more secure than wheel lugs. They're stronger, and they make it easier to put your wheel on. Overall, they're better. For us, you have to install it, so user error could be a thing. When you install wheel studs, you need to make sure that when you take your wheels off and everything, you need to clean the mating surface of your hub really, really well. You need to clean out the threads of the actual where your wheel lugs go into. You want to spray some brake clean in there and get a bristle brush. If you have a gun cleaning kit, something like that would be really good to clean those out, because you want to get all that out, especially if you've used any kind of anti-seize or anything for your wheel lugs. You want to get all that stuff out, because when you put your wheel stud in there, you're going to put blue Loctite on it. You want to make sure that mates in there correctly so that they don't come out at all. As long as you install them correctly, they should last a very, very long time. And then, like I said, it's so much easier to get a wheel onto a car with wheel studs. There's a reason that far more cars in the car community have wheel studs versus wheel lugs. The European market's about the only one that does that for the most part. But yeah, that's actually a video that I have in the works because I got these new wheels coming. I'm going to do all of that at once. Yeah, if you track a car with wheel studs and you're putting crazy amounts of torque and whatnot, I would definitely suggest, replacing them or at least checking them, reapplying the Loctite. But for a daily driver, it shouldn't have to be anything you need to really worry about very often. Let's see here. Hold on. Martin asked, how do I feel about the community as it stands now and the C7 community? Did I expect it to be this impactful on C7 platform when I started it? I can honestly say that 3 years ago, almost 4 years ago when I started this channel, if you would have told me in a few years I would be hitting 10,000 subscribers, I would have laughed at you. I never thought that this channel would take off the way it did and get to the point it's at. I had a feeling that it would be really popular in the C7 community because there's nothing dedicated to the C7 on YouTube. But I am not a mechanic. I am just a Volkswagen Audi enthusiast. I literally learn as I go. A lot of these videos, you guys, when I bring a video to you, it looks like I know what I'm doing. I might have done the work on that car, whatever the video is, 4 damn times trying to figure it out and get it right before I bring you the video. There's a lot of these videos. That's what I think a lot of people don't realize in doing this and how much time it takes. A video that takes 18 minutes for you to watch might have taken me 3 days to do the job and film. And it might be a job that it might take me an hour and a half to do on my own, but adding a camera, now the job takes 4 hours, and then I have to edit everything. I love doing it though. I absolutely love doing it. I love that I get to help a community because when I came up in the Volkswagen Audi community, it was internet forums. You know, I started off on clubb5.com with my Passat, which turned into Passat World. And that was the only way to get information. We didn't have Facebook. We didn't have Instagram, anything like that. And so, you know, you can still go online to clubb5.com and probably find threads from me posting back in 2006, 2005, and threads talking about those things. And that information is there, you know? And so this is a way for me to give back from the years of information I've gotten. The big thing for me that it's made a difference on my life is my connections with the people in the community and my connections with like the companies that are involved in our community, getting to meet these people and see how they work. And it's just awesome because the C7 community in particular is just an incredibly supportive community, super nice people. A lot of the B8 crowd and the SQ5 crowd kind of migrate over towards our C7 community because obviously our platforms are so similar. And I think they like the level of the people in the C7 community versus the B8 community as a whole, because there's a lot of young people in that. I love doing what I do. I know I don't make everybody happy. I know that I can rub some people the wrong way, and you might see some comments on a few of my YouTube channel or YouTube videos on occasion. And that's fine. I don't need to be liked by everybody. I'm definitely going to get stuff wrong in my videos. People call me out on it, and you know, absolutely. I've always said that if I do something wrong or if you know of a better way to do it, let me know. Email me, direct message me, something, and let's talk about it. And you'll see on a lot of videos, I'll have pinned comments that say, oh, look, I messed this up, or it might be a video I just redo. I'm not, you know, like I said, I'm not a trained mechanic or anything like that. I'm literally YouTube certified mechanic. A lot of the stuff that I do is just from, you know, finding obscure things that I've seen on the internet and bringing it to you guys, like the PCV relocation. Oleg, that mad Russian lad up in the Northeast who's got 4OT swapped everything. He also had a turboed 3OT supercharged engine, like it was supercharged and turboed. He's the one that discovered it. He made a YouTube video about it. I met a friend in Raleigh at Southeast Euro in Raleigh last year, or I should say this year, in the early beginning of this year, named Christopher May, who's part of our Audi club here locally. And I noticed the PCV on the outside, and I was like, whose car is this? And I tracked him down, and I was like, tell me about this. And he's the one that gave me all the information I needed to be able to start this project and bring it to you guys. And I like the fact that he was like, yeah, absolutely, I'll help you. You know, he didn't think twice about it. That's amazing. Even like my bypass video I did the other day. I didn't know crap about my bypass valve other than basically where it was and what it did, but learning how to test it, learning what to look for and things like that, that was all Mark Chandler, who's got a B.8.5 S4, and he's an actual Volkswagen Audi mechanic. If it weren't for the community, like I wouldn't be here. It's not me creating the community. The community existed, and I'm here basically relaying information. There's very little information that I really give to you guys that I just came up with on my own. You know, I'm just a conduit for a lot of it. So I hope you guys enjoy it. Whatever I can make better, let me know, and I'll do my best to do that. All right, let me keep going down here. A manual C7 would be a dream come true, Martin. I actually talked to somebody about that knows these cars, and they said that the trouble it would take to do that, because I was like, we can get a B8 S4, B8.5 S4 6-speed, and that should be a really easy swap. Apparently, it is not. Apparently, it is way more involved. Obviously, if you got enough money and the will to do it, anything can be done, but it's not a simple task from what I've been told. Bad Scientist, if your 3OT goes out, if anything, I would go with a 4OT swap. There's kits for that, things like that. That's what I would go to. Hey, Omar, thanks, man. Thanks for the donation. That's awesome. You know, every little bit goes towards the channel. I pretty much turn it all around and put it in the channel, so I appreciate that. All right, let's see here. Yes, S6 seats are plug and play in an A6. That was a question from Kamini Rush. Sorry if I butchered your name. Yes, S6 seats, the comfort seats, the ones that have the massage built in, you can put those in your A6. You just need something to go into the computer to enable the massage seat. So OBD11 VCDS. Otherwise, the really cool sport seats, the wingbacks, they're direct plug and play. We got a video on